Welcome back, guys. We had a very surprising game, actually. BBQ very clean in the early game. They pick up a couple of crucial kills to win the early game against Afreeca, and they actually close it out in the end.
But you know what the best thing about this series, or this game one, is for me, Valdez? BBQ made some great plays, and Afreeca made some mistakes. It wasn't one or the other. It wasn't like Afreeca Freecs just made mistake after mistake, and then BBQ accepted their win. That gank bot side, the inspired pathing from Trick, got them the first kill onto aiming. The game was only delayed because of a very chance steal from Tucson. Was able to pick up the smite there, which shouldn't have happened. It was still the right Baron call. They had insane secure range around 1350, and they still were unable to pick it up. The second time's the charm. Game is closed out. Well-deserving game one winners are BBQ Olivers.
Yeah, nicely done. You know, if they come back and win this one against Afreeca, I'm sure people would just be scratching their heads looking at the post-game thread like, how did this happen? And I'm sure there were some people that would be saying, you know, Afreeca just threw the game, but certainly not in game one. You can't say that about this one. Now, I really want to see what happens when Afreeca get on blue side. They have a chance to ban out what they want to ban. They'll get the first pick. Maybe they'll pick up Swain. And I'm sure this time around, they won't mess around with any weird fancy team comps.
And that's the thing is, this is the last team you expect this to happen to, because Afreeca Freecs are so practiced. They do so many scrim blocks. They are often very, very respectful about everything. It's a very big surprise to see them go down. They are the team that you look at to 2-0 anyone who's not in the playoffs. That's the sort of team Afreeca are in 2018 after being the 50-50 team in 2017. So for BBQ Olivers to pick up this win is really credit BBQ. And now Afreeca, like you mentioned, it's very interesting to see what they diagnose as their problems from game one and how they want to turn it around. Even when it comes to personnel, will it be the same 5 for game number 1?
Yeah, questions to be answered, and well, the damage dealt definitely tells a story of Gangplank in a losing composition. He did a lot of damage in the lane, he did a lot of damage with his ultimate as they were getting pushed in. It was just not effective. The enemy was too tanky, they were too slippery. So Trick able to pick up the actual MVP here, his 4th. So I suppose every time basically, or most of the time, that BBQ do win, he actually picks up the MVP.
2/3 of the time he's picking up the MVP, and he's bouncing around a bit. I've had the chance to talk to him in the makeup room and just before games have started and chat with Trick. Obviously his English is fantastic, and he understands the predicament his team is in. He obviously understands what a step down it is from a year ago to be in the position of the 10th place team. But he's in good spirits. He's been credited as keeping the team morale up whenever he can. And it's good to see him showing good performance. Him returning to the LCK was supposed to be a triumphant moment, but obviously it's been a year so far to forget.
News is Spirit is still in the lineup, and because we didn't have any of the other, you know, player change, CGs come out or anything like that, it is going to be the same 5. And so they just decide, hey, we made a mistake in game 1. We lost the draft, we lost the early game, and we lost the game. So we can kind of learn from that and take 2 in a row against BBQ. It's not a enviable spot for Afreeca because, hey, I mean, BBQ are actually playing good today, but there still is a decent chance that they come back to take the series.
And I think it is Afreeca's strongest 5. So I think Aiming is the better player to Aiming and Kramer, but Kramer definitely has his time. Guru looks like he's ready for pick and ban to start. He's looking for the chance to get himself out of this predicament. He was so happy. Remember, Afreeca Freecs are coming off 2-0ing Griffin, and now are staring down a 1-0 scoreline against BBQ Olivers.
Staring down the barrel of Gragus's, you know, keg that he carries around. Definitely not the happiest time for them. Trick looked really good on that pick. He earned the MVP for it. So guys, pick and ban is ready for game 2. Let's hop right into it.
And Afreeca Freecs, we talked about their diagnosis, and Afreeca are supposed to be a very diagnostic, very cerebral team. They're not interested in the Yasuo coming through from Tempt in game number 2, and they're also blue side banning the Talia. Very interesting to see. Does give BBQ a bit of a bonus ban.
It says, hey, BBQ, go ahead and ban Swain. And BBQ says, thank you.
I'll definitely feel good about that one. Would have loved it on the red side, but not going to happen. All right, well, Afreeca Freecs don't want to deal with any shenanigans, and they definitely don't want to play Nocturne first pick.
Hey guys, you're on the blue side, by the way.
First pick Kindred, very possible here, but will BBQ ban the Kindred, I wonder?
Well, Afreeca gave them that option.
Well, they didn't want to first pick Nocturne, so that's, I think, a confidence thing for Spirit. They lost on it. They don't want to play it again. Will they first pick the Kindred? Because we have seen many teams try to play Kindred. We know Spirit is a monster on Kindred. They don't want to give it over to Tempt, so this might just be the first pick Kindred.
That is a very interesting drawing. Said Tempt fighting at the bottom. I wonder if that was Tempt. But yes, the Kindred comes in, and
it's Gragas time.
It definitely is Gragas time. It's very obvious. I mentioned they're staring down the barrel of Gragas' keg. Well,
oh, well. We are definitely going for the pathing jungler into Kindred and also this cast to reset the Lamb's Respite.
Okay.
So it's going to be Jungle Trundle, this time from Trick is pathing. We praised it in game number 1. It's been good on Trundle recently as well. So don't mind the first lock-ins here. Will Afreeca go over a squishy drop to play around the Trundle? Usually not the right idea, but definitely one way to answer the Trundle when you've already got the Kindred versus Trundle matchup. Afreeca Freecs, what do they want to do? Because game number 1 was not to their expectation. I think Varus Tom Kench to focus on aiming and his great laning on a marksman is probably smart. No more of these shenanigans bot lanes. Time to double down, you think, for the side of Afreeca.
It's a fantastic duo against what they're looking at too, right? As long as aiming has good positioning against an engage from the Gragas, should be able to always have the Tom Kench nearby him so that he can avoid any engage from the Trundle. And a couple of tanky picks that he can just shell damage out on. The Varus very good currently on the patch. I do like the picks for them.
See if the Gragas is bot lane. Could understand drafting a support here if it wasn't, but they're going to continue the flex. Could take an 80 carry. Ezreal's usually what you take, but it's not great into the Varus. Ghost is also a Vladimir player, and I'm sure they're considering the Vladimir instead of the Ezreal. I imagine that's the head-to-head. They're going to settle on the Ezreal. Not ideal for lane, and we might, in fact, know their entire duo lane, as it could certainly be Ignar on the Gragas.
Yeah, it's a cool meta, where there are so many different picks that can, you know, do really well and be flexed around. That sign says, I've been bronze for 6 years. This is my first time at LCK. I have a lot to learn. Just like Twitch chat. Bronze for 6 years.
Well, at least there's some consistency there.
Yeah.
Darius going to be banned away from BBQ saying, hey, what about that Mundo guy? See what Afreeca makes of this.
That's a good drawing.
I assume it's Tempt.
It's Kuro.
Oh, I was wrong.
A lot of them do wear glasses.
Kuro himself has not revealed his champion. Sort of draft that Galio would definitely go with the Afreeca Freecs, but does he want to back up his Galio performance with another one? Answer maybe no on that.
Thinking about this one, down to the wire, they ban out Mundo after banning the Darius, rather.
Who will they last pick for? Because Tempt strikes me as a stronger laner and a stronger carry to last pick for, but Crazy just had a great game on the Cho'Gath. When it comes to engage, they have the Gragas already, but if they want to flex the Gragas, then they would pick mid lane here, so a lot of different flexes going on for BBQ. Ignar sipping on what I assume is barley tea. Twitch chat always has a lot of questions about what the players are drinking. It's usually one of barley or corn silk tea, are very big popular choices in Korea.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of either of them.
I like the corn silk tea personally.
Yeah, I mean, they're not like disgusting. I'm not a big fan. I wouldn't choose it over water.
Is it confidence time for Crazy? He has a Gragas on his lineup, so maybe it's not the worst time ever to go for a blind pick Cho'Gath, and they will.
Hey, it worked out in game 1. And by the way, he was 2-0 on the Cho'Gath before that game. That was one of the guys we didn't mention, and now he's 3-0 after the last game that we did just play. Let's see what Afreeca do decide to respond with into the Cho'Gath.
Initiation is really important when you're running the Kindred Varus, and they will take the Gnar, who's not quite Orin for initiation, but does dunk on the Cho'Gath a bit easier. I'm just really interested to know what Kuro's playing. Is it the Galio that's being threatened a little bit here? I would definitely understand that pick. Or is it a Kuro special? Because Kuro has a very big champion pool. Wondering what they work out here in terms of most played that's available. It's a lot of one-offs, and it's going to be a mid lane rumble in this game. They're actually doubling down on the Kindred, and this is going to be a replay of what we saw SKT not be able to win with Rumble Equalizer and Kindred's invading. So this is very much a mid-game, early mid-game comp here from Afreeca. I'm excited to see this.
It's definitely not just a throwaway. I'm sure some of you out there are like, really? They're going to go Rumble mid? It's actually a good combination, and I think it should have some good work to do, but let's see what the response is. Last second change to Anivia in the mid lane against the Rumble.
Really peculiar time to see an Anivia. Usually Anivia is drafted against Swain, Cho'Gath, lots of bruisers.
Yeah.
Instead, it's a lot of squishies on the side of Afreeca, a lot of them quite slippery as well, so I really don't understand the Anivia draft here.
I mean, the Syndra before, I feel like made a lot of sense. You know, a lot of squishy targets.
Yeah.
You might force a Lamb's Respite at a inopportune time. I think that would have been a really good play, but
we never like to assume too much about how late the pick was, but they went from a Syndra at 1 second to an Anivia as the time went down. So
Syndra at 0 seconds to Anivia at 0 seconds.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure about this one. Syndra would have a huge kill pressure on Kindred or Rumble if they tried to do anything funny. So we'll see how this one works out for the side of BBQ. They have so much terrain. If you think about what team fights could look like, a wall, also a Trundle pillar, and you were pointing out a hell of a lot of teleports.
Yep, 4 teleports. Anyone who doesn't take Smite takes teleport now. 814, it was nerfed a little bit, added some extra time onto it. I think it was 60 seconds.
We're still on 13, baby.
Yeah.
So TP meta, square bang in the middle of it. Very peculiar choice to see Tempt pick up the Anivia here. Not going to have a lot of kill pressure on the Rumble. But let's focus on Afreeca's draft. Rolling back what SKT couldn't win with. If Kindred gets going and has an Equalizer in his pocket, which should be super early, because the ability to go Talisman and kill the Raptors, the invasions here are going to be really difficult for Trick to repel.
It's going to be fun to watch. You know, maybe Spirit just pops off and we see what we should have seen from SKT with this duo of Kindred and Rumble. Also curious about the teleport on Gragas. You know, what exactly is he going to be doing with that?
It's IGNAR, baby. Oh, yeah.
Maybe some shenanigans to the top side. We'll have to wait and see. Let's start game number 2, BBQ versus Afreeca. Here we are, and
we're just trying to tilt everyone with the animation counts you can do that sound really annoying on Rumble.
Yes, thank you, Hero. Thank you, Observer, too.
Can we just go anywhere else?
This is the same dance that I do as Anivia, actually, where you do, I think it's 1-2, and it looks like your bird is kind of doing the twist.
You were definitely the most psyched person to see that, as IGNAR is looking to ruin fun.
Well,
he was definitely looking for it.
And that's when you do some extra emoting.
They're actually really happy to see IGNAR because we've seen IGNAR pop up to top lane with Body Slam first to try to get cheese kills with a teleport support.
Yeah.
Keen actually rushed straight to the most advanced brush, being like, all right, there's 2 ways you can play this. I remember Smeb put down a very early ward in the second brush not to get cheesed by a teleport support. And meanwhile, the Gnar, whether he's going to be auto-attacking crazy on the way to lane or spotting out the Gragas, just chose to go as far up as possible. Now, with all of this, they did not put down any advanced vision on the Raptors, which is just a straight-up mistake when you're facing a Smite mid laner. We knew this when you're facing Aatrox mid, and of course the Talon mid are the 2 we've seen. This means a free level 2 for Kuro, not even contested by the side of BBQ.
Yeah, Afreeca was preparing for them to put down vision, right? They had Tucson end aiming in the side brush next to the Raptors, just in case they wanted to go for the aggressive play. The mark this time is not going to go over, actually, to Spirit. He loses on the RNG on the first Rift Scuttler. Not the best start for him.
We'll be able to counter jungle top side pretty extensively, as we're expecting Gnar to have a pretty significant lead over the Cho'Gath. especially when Hyper gets a couple of points. It's a weird matchup where it's less about items and more about getting the 4 to 5 points into Hyper to really just make it so Crazy has no clean itemization. Man, it's really weird looking at Crazy this game because he's so damn small. He was insanely massive in game number 1. Now he looks smaller than the range minions.
Small Cho'Gath is just one of the most awkward things to look at. I don't know why. But big Cho'Gath kind of makes sense, but small Cho'Gath is like, it's like the average Cho'Gath is how they made the sprite or something, and then they just miniaturized the small Cho'Gath.
It's definitely our eyes playing tricks on us. I know whenever I play 80 carry and I'm used to having double Zeo kind of levels of movement speed, then I play the next game and I'm like, oh, I'm so slow.
Yeah.
With the 325 bases. We mentioned already how this is going to go. Spirit and Kuro would love to contest this Raptor, but look at this. Tempt walks up and it's enough to dissuade the duo here. No equalizer yet on Kuro.
Yeah, they're going to wait on that. They don't want to lose their pressure that they can have early by just making a dumb mistake early on in the game. Want to wait for the equalizer, as you were mentioning. Level 6 for both of them will be extremely strong, especially against Trick Tempt.
Pressure is definitely the key word in this particular series. So in this game 2 at least, Keen going to have lane pressure onto Cho'Gath. Varus Tomkins you definitely take over the Ezreal and Gragas. And
with
because of
TP.
the double TP, yeah, definitely. They got the extra laning summoner on Tucson. And then Kuro should have a fast level 6 and be able to invade with Kindred. And the Anivia famous for being pretty slow moving, so most of these neutrals, whether it's enemy marks or something like an Ocean Drake, should be pretty free. See how Spirit goes soloing this one down at level 3.
Now, you can do it, you just need to smite early.
Yep.
So if the Trundle was here, obviously it would not work, but in order to survive, you do need to get that smite off. Decides not to until the last second, just to show off a little bit, gets a little bit of help from his team, and at about 4.5 minutes, we do have our first drink.
And good news, not to be outdone by the 4 teleports on the side of BBQ, Afreeca can have 3 smites, which can also be very, very cheesy as well. But also have access to the triple teleport, as Tucson is running the Unsealed Spellbook.
Underrated.
First mark of the game to Spirit. You already mentioned earlier that he missed out on the top side Scuttle Crab. Keen did a bajillion damage at one point, about 30 minutes in, doing more damage than the entire enemy team, but was on the losing side. So hard to place too much blame with the Pirate in game number 1. Once again, in a very good spot in terms of lane champion choice here. Let's see how he can do, as Trick has made his first adventure to the top side.
Yeah, Crazy doesn't have much mana, but you might be able to force a flash and then return. Maybe something like that, but at the end of the day, Trick just showing his face will return to the Crux, farm that out, and then go for a back.
In case you guys have been reading patch notes, you know there's gold funneling notes on 8.14. They're not present in this patch, so you don't have to rush your Runic Echo. If you are Kuro, clear to go in for the Sorcerer's Shoes, for the movement speed to sidestep the Q from the Anivia, and also more equalizer damage, which as we all know, is what the Rumble is all about.
Double tier on the side of BBQ. Both Ezreal and Anivia, of course, are going to be tier champions. So they do have their own bit of scaling. You have to imagine that the Anivia is not the best into this composition, especially with, you know, the Rumble equalizer on top of you. You can have the Gnar hop over your wall. You can get stunned from, you know, the Gnar specifically, who, you know, we'll see if Keen can actually pull that off. But eventually, if the Anivia just reaches crazy amounts of scaling, which she can get to at some point, maybe the, you know, the compositions won't matter too much. She can pull off some huge amounts of damage.
Not onto the Gnar, though. He's gone for an intriguing build. He's actually rushed Negatron and a Cull on his first purchase. I believe Wit's End may be coming, as here comes the counter jungling we talked about.
Too late, though. They would love to take that blue buff away from Anivia. Everybody, it's like the famous case, right? You take the blue buff away from Anivia, but
Season 2 analysis when Froggen was playing right there. Nicely done.
I probably said the same sentence in Season 2.
That's right, because you cast CLG EU.
I did.
Back when they were an OGN champions summer 2012. That was over 6 years ago.
Long time ago. definitely wasn't a LoL caster then.
Hey, you were actually employed as one, so
Yeah.
you're a professional League of Legends caster in Korea before Monty and Doa. The true OG Brendan Valdez.
The true OG. I don't put that on my resume, though, the true OG. I do put the fact that I casted it, though. But yeah, I like the idea what they were going for, trying to deny the blue buff, but it's a little bit too late on that one. So that makes Temp's job even easier into the Rumble.
This is still the right move from Afreeca. Didn't see enough of this from Faker and Blank. Just rotate through. Every mark is yours because there's an equalizer and also Kindred strong skirmishing to respect. However, coming back to lane, you're going to take a bit of damage.
Didn't have the vision on Kuro. Who's going to have it this time around? And, well, you talked about equalizer. That's a quick one. Isn't quite going to get the slow. Temp just says, okay. Just walk away from that one.
Didn't see an E at all during that from the Anivia, which I thought was a bit peculiar, but never mind. Not going to be the biggest thing ever. You are the resident Anivia expert. I'm actually the resident Rumble expert.
Yeah.
So we have a lot to talk about in mid.
Yeah.
We got the sort of specific, no, this is basically a lane stream.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Papa Smithy and Valdez.
Put it on the mid lane. We'll talk all about this matchup. Although Anivia into Rumble never happens. Unless you're in, current meta.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that experienced in this matchup, but I can pretend. I pretend to be a caster all these years.
I know, it's crazy. We're still here. The Anivia, as long as you can dodge the slowing missiles from the Rumble, you should be okay. Because you can generally control space very well, so you shouldn't be getting hit by the Flame Spitter.
I think Spirit's looking for a pretty low percentage gank in the top side. Keen's Mega Gnar is timing out. The Cho'Gath has flash, so maybe best to abandon this one. As I just want to know if we're seeing Keen go for a Wit's End rush on the Gnar. That'll be the first time I've ever seen that. He's against double AP laners. It might even be Iceborne Gauntlet Ezreal, so has a lot of validity against the opposition, but would just be a different pick, as Crazy's like, this sucks.
Yeah, you just kind of have to take it, and you can't give it, because your damage is magic, and you're going up against a guy with an Egatron cloak, so you just sit here and you wait for your jungler. That's exactly what's going on. There is actually no vision currently. Could try to hop around the bend here, go for a sneaky pillar, but again, it's Gnar. You can just hop over it.
I think both junglers have been seduced by the top side, but maybe not the best moves for them. Spirit's got double control ward. That is his third mark of the game. So 4 is the magic number to hit the 575 range. Got Warrior Enchant as well. We already know all about the Rumble. How aggressive are we getting around this Kindred? Is a question only Spirit knows the answer to. And this winning lane is almost coalesced into a bot lane first brick turret.
Yeah. At this point, I don't think you try to go for any dive without the Rumble, of course. Just, zone him out, clear out some vision, take your second Drake. Don't go for a dive just yet. You can always get, unfortunately, cast away if the Gragas is on his game and you don't want to do anything too risky just yet.
So risky to draft the 2 losing lanes, and Anivia really only has position till after level 6 when it comes to control. Always going to be just fine against the Rumble. Trick in position for a turret dive, but some trading places needs to happen.
He just looked really confused, trying to run away.
He was caught red-handed.
Yeah, he really was. You could tell he felt very awkward in that moment.
Well, it's also that moment where he's setting up for a low percentage turret dive as the Drake confirmation is sent globally.
Yeah. Look at that damage, though, onto aiming. He's going to throw out a cask, and Ignar says, get away from my Ezreal.
Get into my heart, Keen. He has gone for the Wit's End rush Gnar. As Kuro, look at this. 5 points into Flame Spitter. That magic resist reduction is going to be happy news for the Rumble in a team fight. If we ever even see that interaction, because Afreeca just doubling down on win lane, win game for now.
Ooh, missing that smite there. As it does go over, there is the Devour on top of Tucson, but Ignar is here. The flash committed to by Tucson just to get to safety. Kuro in a bad position too, is forced to flash away. He gets the mark. That's mark number 4 for Kindred, but a couple of flashes are spent.
May be surprised to see that, but Varus was on a recall and had to teleport back into lane. Big Fi got the Rage Blade on that back, so there wasn't actually the backup that the Rumble Kindred duo is usually expected to have. Speaking of Rumble, hands in the cookie jar, going to take away the Raptors. They're doing a much better job of contesting camps than we saw from Faker and Blank. Again, the only other duo we've seen play this Smite Rumble. The theory that wasn't put into practice is get all those marks, get them early, because the Rumble Equalizer already be there, and it's level 2 Equalizer, where the buffs, which were put onto Rumble, have finally become active. Seeing a lot of people bot side, but Spirit's here.
No flash, it's double teleport. This is what their comp was made to do. Tucson is gonna survive for now. Blue buff though on the side of Anivia, but Tucson lives through everything. Trick, he did have the stopwatch, but it wasn't enough. First blood goes over to the Varus in the bot side.
So much time to buy there. His top lane, Crazy's gonna die.
Oh, the knockup, and he's not able to get that through,
Oh.
and Keen almost dies on the backside.
No flash there. Assumed he had it. Apologies to Ride Off Cho'Gath. You can see the Wits End's doing work as Afreeca Freecs. They're feeling real mad about game number 1.
They want to shut this down real hard. That was a cute maneuver, but you can see why Kindred is such a high-tier pick nowadays. You get into a bad spot, one Kindred ultimate can turn the tides, and that was a huge fight for Afreeca to win.
It's just so much pressure being applied. Kindred, will she go hard at the paint for the mark or try to steal away the red? Both of them up, but actually just going to be respectful. Maybe Rift Herald will be the choice. Watching the replay here, love how they use Kindred ult, and notice Tucson when it comes to the use of the gray health. We're going to actually focus on the interrupt there by Keen, not even notice.
It was supposed to be
a
3
triple.
people.
But watch here, Tucson trusts in the Lamb's Respite, doesn't use the gray health until afterwards. The ultimate there from Kuro just to zone away. Free kill, another mark onto Spirit. This man has got a lot of marks, criminally early.
He's all marked up, man. He's been through the entire ring so far, and well, we'll see how many he ends up with in the end of it all. I think he's at 5 right now, maybe. 4 or 5.
And it is Iceborne Gauntlet Ezreal as well. It's impossible for BBQ to ever take a 5v5 or even a 3v3 against these comps. Their gimmicky Quadra Teleport is on cooldown now, so outnumbering is the best they can hope for. Aiming has once again dominated lane on the Varus, as you might expect. Game 1 feels like a distant memory for the side of Afreeca Freecs. In basically any amount of members, 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, they should come out huge victors as 5 stacks now onto the Kindred.
What do you think about the Swifty boots, the Swifties on the side of the Anivia? Generally, it would be nice to get that magic pen, but I guess this helps against dodging Rumble stuff, you know, just dodging all the skill shots on the side of Afreeca.
I think it pales in comparison to just drafting the Anivia that we already had our kind of big finger waving at and saying, I don't know about this one. Certainly hasn't impressed us in this game. A slow-moving mid laner that has control and is very good against the tankier lineups we've seen in the past. In this game was not seeming great. It's just zoning here by Afreeca.
Yeah, everything and the kitchen sink thrown at the Anivia. Tempt does dodge everything, so credit to him. They keep the turret alive too.
Ghost just trying to find farm on the side lane, trying to get to 2 items on the Ezreal before the game may already be fully in the toilet here. As Afreeca Freecs just trying to look for the next easy objective. They're kind of running out of them. The mid lane turret against Anivia, even with those ultimates, going to be tricky to take. The Rift Herald is what they want, but just like it's difficult to set up for Baron with a Kindred, even the Rift Herald, now that the laning phase is over, it's difficult to get the sort of deep vision down for Kindred to solo it.
Kuro sitting on level 12. It's part of what happens when you do take Smite in a solo lane. As your XP goes off the charts, you steal a bunch of the camps. The extra XP from the jungle item gets you ahead. So that's why he will be the highest. And
Runic Echo was always a really nice item on the Rumble. It's kind of a luxury item because you don't purchase the Luden's Echo on Rumble. Obviously now it has 20% CDR and mana, so you don't buy it. But even in the past, it wasn't a Rumble item. So feeling pretty good about it. The overheating on the Flame Spitter and the Smite makes you clear Raptors so fast. That's why he's put together a very nice CS total. Usually you'd imagine Anivia would be in a greater spot. And of course the reduced damage to minions still exists on the Flame Spitter, but not onto monsters. So that's why the Raptors just explode.
Another reason for you to first time pick the Rumble jungle in your next solo queue game, guys. Definitely check it out. I'm sure your teammates won't be too mad.
Tell them Valdez sent you.
Yeah.
Valdez
just
coming
tell them
through.
I said it was okay. I'm sure
Say
they'll
Valdez
be
coming
okay.
through. They'll understand.
Yeah. I was curious about who that blue buff went over to. I think it might have been the Gnar, accidentally. Unless my eyes were playing tricks on me. Should have been the Kindred.
Gene pushes up. The Wits End completed for ages. I imagine sitting on a nice fat stack of gold, given that his color's cashed in as well. Just walking over. Not the easiest to take down this mid lane outer turret from Anivia, as we've mentioned a couple of times, blue buff or no. Afreeca Freecs walking up to that Rift Herald. Now they finally have had Tom Kench put down some vision. Maybe they feel like now is the time.
They definitely have control of the map and of this game. They're ahead about 5,000 golds with kind of a blink of an eye. Barely even saw that one coming, but you know, with 2 turrets down, the first blood and the extra farming definitely does add up over time. No way that BBQ could have contested that. They kind of just have to sit back and let it happen.
Losing Rift Herald means it's very difficult for them to keep up this passive farming phase they've managed for about 2 minutes. There is the Rift Herald. If we could stand in front of it, deny it from being stopped from charging, it's still going to go.
A little bit late on that one.
There is 3 outer turrets down. The gold lead sitting around 5,000. The easy objective's done for the Afreeca Freecs, and let's inspect how they close a game with the Kindred that so many teams, including Kingzone Dragon X, have found it very difficult to do.
The Kindred on 5 stacks currently. So always good to keep a clock on where our Kindred is at and how farmed it's getting to. But we're definitely at a point in time where Afreeca, they're only going to really have that Baron as a play. It's going to be pretty hard to push into the Anivia, so they might just accept that, you know, hey, let's go for a Baron, try to force a fight, get the Anivia out of position, and maybe we can just win on a turn.
Aiming went for the Nationals Tooth Varus build. We've seen a couple of these in Korea, a bit more common in other regions. Kai'Sa and Varus, both known to flex to the AP build from time to time. Does mean he has easier access to Zonias as an item, which is usually more useful than a Guardian Angel for the AD carry role. Walk up, still strong, gets physical damage scaling on ability power with his W for the amplified Q damage as well. So nice little options there. A lot of Baron threat from this Afreeca Freecs lineup. They can have triple smite, they can turn off the objective really well, but top side,
they get another flash at Akuro. The Trundle ultimate blown, but that's just about it on the side of BBQ. It's getting a little bit frisky up in the top side. Yeah, I was talking about the turn, but you're exactly right. They have really good Baron damage too, and the triple smite means that they could just, well, have total control over that area.
Always scary against Cho'Gath, so getting that deep vision. If you remember the reason that Kingzone were delayed for 20 minutes, they could never get adequate vision around where you see Anivia pathing. The deep blue wards on the red side, red jungle, was something that Kindred finds it very difficult to do. The only face checkers are a damage stacking Gnar, who will be on the other side of the map, and also squishies that need to be devoured by the Tom Kent. So this is quite tricky to get adequate vision to make a Baron play. And Ignar, that's the brush we saw. Kingzone's opponents at the time, Jin-Air camp again and again, just trying to delay the game.
Can also get a little bit dicey in the enemy jungle when you're going up against this much terrain building. You're going up against Trundle and Anivia, so it's, you know, you get caught a couple times. I know that Kindred can hop around and deal with both of those, but if you're someone else, you might be forced to burn a flash. They'll definitely have to send the Gnar or the Kindred forward if they don't want to get caught out by that.
Really sucks to be crazy, and he can't actually build the Warmogs yet in this matchup. Remember that Wits End is on-hit damage that also shreds magic resist, and Hyper does percentage magic damage to the Cho'Gath. So he must feel awful, because whatever he builds is going to be answered by these 2 items. Maybe we'll see more of the Wits End Gnar, given this is the only way he could realistically pick up any semblance of magic penetration.
And keep in mind that they saved the counter pick Well, that teleport is going to be awkward. Aiming forced to cancel that one really deep into the enemy jungle, but they forced the counter pick on the mid lane. You know, they wanted to see what the mid lane was going to be for Afreeca, and they last pick Anivia into the Rumble and into this composition. Instead of giving the counter pick to the top side, and then maybe, you know, you pick the Anivia and it's a little bit more forgivable, and then you get a better top lane for yourself, they kind of swapped it around.
And that's why we've already talked about the draft a couple of times with Anivia. They gave up flexing the Gragas to just get the Cho'Gath and give Tempt counterpick, and then we're very uninspired by the counterpick he ended up with. And this has been, if you think about this season, we've actually had quite a few red side 5th picks that have just kind of done nothing or actually been counterproductive to the draft, which is disappointing to see. Ignar is going to be here against Kane.
Trying to capitalize on his greediness, going for the turret, gets the flash out here, but this is, okay, Tusin's going to come in, the cast onto the Gnar, and he's there. The flash forward from Tusin is going to save his life. Keep in mind that Kindred is here too. Forces the flash here out of Crazy. The rest of BBQ is going to come in, say, don't hurt my teammates, but a little bit dicey there.
He actually ate him out of Cho'Gath's mouth. Imagine that in any semblance of life. But that's exactly what happened. The feast animation was halfway through completing onto the Gnar. Tusin confirmed, better eater, Tom Cantrell.
That's really gross. You don't want to eat out of a Cho'Gath's mouth, that's for sure. BBQ looking to get the inside track, but look at that. The Chains of Corruption and the Equalizer on the 10th. Thankfully, he had his flash. Crazy is going to come in here too with his TP, but the rest of Afreeca is going to join up. And it's a bit of an ERAM for now.
It does mean that Anivia's flash is on cooldown for a while. The next Equalizer could be a lot stronger onto the Anivia. Always saw Rumble as a strong pick into Jhin and Varus. You know, these no-escape AD carries getting burning down by the red carpet. Still, Afreeca Freecs haven't significantly changed the pace of this game. They haven't been able to control this red buff area, just like we mentioned Kingzone struggled with on a Kindred draft. So finding a way to get Baron. They have a lot of damage. Double Mountain Drake. They do it way faster than you'd imagine. They're happy to see Crazy on the bot side, because that does mean he's not going to be in Flash Smite range. His Flash also on cooldown. When does Afreeca switch over to Triple Smite and try to cheese down this Baron?
They can just do it so fast. It's unbelievable. Double Mountain, Triple Smite. 4 champions that can burst it down real quick. It's should be a pretty free objective for them, honestly. Like, even if they get a thin line and they see that Crazy's not there, you might as well just go for it, you know? But Afreeca, they're known for being very safe, right? They don't want to take any chances, especially when they need to win 2 in a row against BBQ. When the top of the lineup here at LCK is so competitive, you can't afford to make mistakes because you got impatient against BBQ.
And Afreeca are a patient team. They may not be Gen G, but they happy to be patient. Ultimate goes wide there from aiming. Not the most consequential, but decent burst damage on the ultimate when you're going an ability power build like he is. Everyone backs away. Remember, triple teleport still available from BBQ. Haven't found big use of it in the first 26 minutes, but they can certainly outnumber very quickly. If you see one teleport on a minion, that you better look at it very... Exactly. You have to look at it very closely. Otherwise, you're going to be super surprised.
Yeah. You really want to get that Banshee Veil off attempts. It's an interesting pickup, you know. It definitely saves you a lot of the time against the Chains of Corruption, mostly. But
does condemn it to be a pretty low damage Anivia build as well.
Yeah, and low penetration too. No penetration, right? It's just...
That's just not the right amount of penetration.
I know, it just has none. It's a very sad life for this Anivia. We'll hope that he can get some penetration soon.
Point Staff no doubt coming in at some point, waiting for Afreeca Freecs to find a way to actually change this game. It might just be a collapse or a gank, because for now, Baron hasn't worked for them.
Aiming has tried so many times to get the Banshee Veil off. It's not going to matter, though, because see you later, Trick. Trundle just too far ahead. He got slowed down, ate too much damage from the Gnar. And maybe this will be Afreeca's moment to go for the Baron.
Nice equalizer flash ult also from aiming. That's why there was no way out for Trick. That means Smite's on cooldown. They still have a feast. Afreeca Freecs, what will they do here? They have to start the Baron. They do, and you already outlined that any combination of champions just murder this Baron.
See you later, Baron. And will they steal it? No. And they had 2 smites that time around. Tucson was just on zoning duty. And the 2-shot barrage a little bit late anyway. So just a couple of kills onto Trick, and that's it for this game. But already Afreeca so far ahead.
And the perfect game, I guess, needs to be discussed at this point in it. We're going to watch the replay here. Watch this. It was aiming with the flash ult. Sitting on the equalizer, death is guaranteed onto Trick. This time he invested the flash. It was worth it. They get the Baron out of it. Like we mentioned, there may be a single Scuttle Crab, but that doesn't count in terms of perfect game calculation. BBQ Olivers dealing with an angry Afreeca Freecs after BBQ were able to win game number 1.
And it's interesting, you know, we talked about the draft, the Trundle coming out really soon after the Kindred. We applauded the pathing from the Gragas for Trick in game number 1, but game number 2, he really found no opportunity on the map. He was just bullied in the jungle due to this Kindred and the Rumble. And yeah, maybe next time around in the next draft we see something a little bit better, or maybe a ban on the Kindred instead, as they will be on the blue side.
I find it very hard to criticize Trick, though. We did see him caught up top side where it looked comical. Drake was going down, and he had to just escape away from the Gnar, but it was losing lanes, and also the Anivia not providing a lot of value. Trying to chase onto Keen, but he's slippery.
Yeah, he has this flash, too. I thought maybe it was still down. Looks like it just came back. Either way, well, aiming pushes really fast. If there's nobody there, attempt a little bit late on the Storm means that the turret's going to lose the majority of its health.
Flame Horizon ages ago by Gnar, who's massively ahead of the Cho'Gath. We already talked about how the Wit's End makes Cho'Gath's life just the worst. Well, we have 0-0-0 stat lines in a losing game because there's only 2 people who've gone down, and both times it was the Troll.
Speaks volumes to the current state of the game, I suppose. Although Trick was not trolling, he is the only one dying as the Troll. And well, Ghost is really desperate for this game to go for another 10 minutes. Looking for a...
Interrupted.
Yeah. That was not going to happen. They wanted to get up on the top side as Keen just is destroying this Cho'Gath. Really, it's like draft problems for game 1 for Afreeca and draft problems for game 2 for BBQ are really making this hard.
And leave a food for thought question for you, Valdez. Did BBQ fry the game in game number 1 or game number 2?
Definitely game number 1. This time it's Afreeca frying BBQ with the equalizer.
Well, BBQ don't seem to appreciate that. Despite their tasty olive oil chicken, they have now lost their inhibitor turret.
Well, and they lost the Troll again. Oh, didn't even see that one happening. Might lose Ignar here too, as he is able to dash away at least. But the flash forward from Spirit, he's gonna help pick up the kill for aiming. And, well, even with the Anivia, they just cannot stop the push.
Perfect game pace still going. This is the moment.
Will anybody die on the side of Afreeca, or will they get a perfect game here? Now, they got 1 Scuttle. Doesn't count in terms of perfect games. And it looks like Afreeca, with the utmost caution, will say, hey, how about we end this game in 10 minutes?
Probably the right way to go. It's still very early. It's only 31 minutes into the game, and they know the next push should be the fatal one. Oh, looking to try to kill Spirit, but he's already healthy, so not going to work. How about a 5th Drake, the Infernal? I just thought that was the Infernal's health bar, but it was amusingly the Rift Scuttle.
Yeah.
Infernal still dies really fast. Gonna watch the replay of how this happened. They start to walk up. Trick decides to zone, and in a different game, he's in the right spot as Trundle. In this game, he dies as if his name was written on paper and then ripped up.
Spread attempt too, so he's just sitting there like, can someone report this troll on my team? Why does he keep dying and spreading chains of corruptions onto me?
A tale of woe.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a short poem there, but very beautiful by Tempt. The 000 dream is going for 3 members of BBQ still. Only the European imports have died.
There you go. I thought this was actually the damage in the entire game because we haven't really had too much action. A nice one barrel or maybe an auto attack from Ignar in the last one. Probably the former.
Speaking of European imports, we could be actually sending our viewers into EULCS despite its 1 hour later start time today.
Hey, you know what? Right now it's 10:50, and EULCS is slated to start at 1 a.m.
And 12:30 for the pre-show, so we're odds on to send it over to the pre-show.
I think that's what's going to happen.
I'm excited for that. Afreeca Freecs, slow and steady in this game. They really want that perfect game. Haven't been many this season. A Spirit maybe doesn't want the perfect game.
Hey, I mean, Ghost does a lot of damage. It's just unfortunate that, you know, he's not really in a position to do any of that damage.
Also, his opposite number aiming does just the most damage.
Oh, that equalizer burn onto Ghost, though. He's the one taking damage now. The Cho'Gath looks very different compared to Game 1. Game 1 Cho'Gath is Cho'Gath on the enemy team. Game 2 is the Cho'Gath and Mirror team, obviously.
I feel those feels. Aiming also seems way better at Varus than Zoe. Who would have thought? Still an AP carry, so 2 AP carries in a row, but aiming is monstrously far ahead. We have to give him the MVP because he's 4-0-0. We've only ever had one other game where someone ended with 100% kills, and that was actually his opposite number, Kramer, who won a game for Afreeca Freecs with 100% kills. That's not kill participation, actually kills. He was 9-0-0.
Yeah. Well, this would be more impressive if they could just end the game with no more kills. 4 kills, 4-0, 40 minutes.
Perfect game.
Yeah, but 5 Drakes, that would be awkward. Looking at the Baron now, this is why I said 10 minutes. May not take 10 minutes, maybe just 5, because they could just pick up the Baron, push into the top lane, get all the super minions, and end the game.
Kuro, tilting us, knows that we're definitely going to have the camera onto the Baron. It's going to be checked, but they have exactly 0% chance of taking this Baron. Freebie for Afreeca Freecs.
I mean, it is the extra AP Ezreal. Did a lot of damage, but point taken. You would have to be extremely lucky. These Baron minions are pretty tanky, huh?
I wonder what the lowest kill perfect game was. 4 would probably be close to it.
I think we had a couple of situations like this last split, right, where it was like 2-0 and they took the second Baron and we're like, is it just gonna end?
Usually everyone dies once. Maybe one person
Yeah.
going 0-0-0, but not much more than that.
Eamon's just been sniping for that Banshee Veil the entire game. Haven't seen him hit it once.
He has zone 1 now. Look on in Fear at the 80 carry Banshee Veil.
I mean, look on in Fear at the bottom lane push. They might not even need to take that top side.
How bloodless can we be? Will it be the perfect game? That's where the hype is, because we know Afreeca's sending this to game number 3.
Spirit just autoing in the face of 4 members of BBQ, doesn't seem to care anymore. Another inhibitor is going to pop up now. They can just take that one away. And the bottom one is going to spawn in 20 seconds. Thank you, Spo TV.
They still have some terrain. Maybe they can pull off some miraculous delay, but it seems like it's only going to be a delay for their own demise, Valdez.
You know, that Ezreal doesn't even do that much to the Rumble. Tempt pushing forward. He really wants to get a fantastic equalizer into that back line, and that is going to do it. They want more kills. Can they get any? Ghost is going to go down, but a 5-0 victory in 36 minutes. Might have been our most bloodless game that we've had here, but Afreeca do win.
And a tale of 2 Cho'Gaths in the first game. 10 stacks early, super huge. In this game, 0-0-0. Neither solo lane died. A perfect game for the side of the Afreeca Freecs. And this is how Afreeca in 2018 tell you they're mad. They play clean, they don't necessarily greed for any kills, and they roll you over in a very smart and very shrewd closeout.
Very shrewd, for sure. I like that word to describe them. It's not really ultra passive. It's just, you know, the intelligent mind beast that is Afreeca as a whole.
If you think back to the game, could you really give them any notes to play better? I know a perfect game usually indicates that, but this was not huge mistakes from the side of BBQ. The draft, you could argue, but in-game just seemed like they were boxing with shadows. The shadows was The Kindred always being on the front foot, the Rumble helping them out. This is what I thought the draft would show. For the last time we saw this Smite Rumble and Kindred duo, it's a very potent one. We'll see more teams do it. BBQ Olivers, best of luck in game number 3. Maybe no Anivia this time.
Bench the Anivia, and maybe bench the Kents. You have a lot of options here going into game number 3. As they are going to be on the blue side. But guys, it will only be a 9-minute break before we do come back for game number 3. So hold on to your seats. We'll be back.